Good evening. Welcome to this month's Town Administrators Report. I'm David Watts Jr., and with me is our Town Administrator, Steve Maio. Steve, welcome.
Thank you. How are you, David?
Doing well. How are you?
Excellent.
Ready for the holidays?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
This is the last show of season 15. Hard to believe it's been on that long.
Yes.
Yeah. And as we've done in past years, this is our year in review, and we have actually quite a few things to kind of talk about. Let's start off with the January 28th special town meeting on the high school.
Sure. So as probably everybody remembers now, the town of Wakefield had entered into the school business administration to the state acceptance into building a new high school. We had gone through the feasibility study and put together plans were done for building of a $275 million complex, which will be, I guess, where am I situated? Behind me, I think, and maybe that way a little bit, where Abdu CHC Studios will build a new state-of-the-art high school where hopefully we'll receive, up to maybe around 50% of allowable costs. And we did another show long ago, what was on allowable costs. That's not 50% of the whole event, unfortunately, but it's it's whole cost, but it's pretty good. So we went through obviously a lot of public outcry. I think there were 12 forums before town meeting, and actually the town meeting needs to vote. They need to vote on, and it needs to be a 2/3 vote because the town legislative body is voting to expend money and to borrow that money and expend it, hence the 2/3 requirement. So we decided early on that we would have a town meeting in the high school, high school auditorium. We don't have a high school auditorium now, but we will have a big one in the new one, in the field house, because we knew we would have overcapacity. And where we maybe could have had the town meeting at the Galvin, which is a wonderful auditorium, but I don't like it when it's a bond, but it only seats about 700.
Right.
I don't like when there's a bond vote, you have different locations. And
we would have had to have had overflow across the
hall
in the cafeteria, sure.
And bond councils like that. So we had really close to 1,300 people show up for that town meeting. And after a spirited discussion for a few hours, we had people, before we even started, we had people lined up to get in, and I think town meeting, which was supposed to start at 8 a.m., probably didn't start until 8:15, 8:20, while people...
Oh, later than that?
Was it even later? Well, you were one of the...
later than that.
You were one of the tellers, so maybe you know.
Yeah, it was later than that.
So, in any event...
no, I couldn't be a teller on that one because of a conflict with the design firm.
Correct.
Yep.
But you were there. You're always there
was.
at town meeting. I don't think you've missed one in a long, long time.
No. Nope.
So anyways, after a presentation and a lot of conversation, a vote was taken, and it passed 1,231 to 42. So really a very, very overwhelming desire on the part of the people at town meeting to have a new high school. And what is very... interesting about votes like that is that people are voting to increase their taxes to pay for it.
Right.
It's a debt exclusion vote, which means that the amount to pay the monthly mortgage payment on the borrowing, we call it a bond, but it's just like your mortgage bill. The amount that's to cover the mortgage is going to be on top of the regular 2.5 tax levy.
Right.
So because it is a debt exclusion, we also have to have an election. So, and it has to be within a certain number of days of that. So on March 11th, there was the actual townwide election. And again, that was at the Galvin where we normally vote. And that vote was 34-31 to 14-33. So I think it's fair to say that the town overwhelmingly supported a new high school. It's been a long time coming. I am thrilled about a lot of things about the new high school, not the least of which is that WCAT will continue to have a presence in the building, and I think we all agree that that's very important to the community and to hopefully getting more students involved and making you and I look good on the set, which takes more and more each year, I might add. But I think that as we go forward on the high school just a little bit, the plans are getting finalized. Again, at each step, has to get approved by the state.
Right.
State comes back and gives comments on it. And I think we're at the 60% plan approval rate, which plan approval level, but really that means it's like really 95% of the way there. Not much is going to change from where we were before. So
Right.
I expect we'll be seeing some shovel in the ground and some fencing going up around the area probably as early as maybe when some of the kids get back from winter vacation. So it
Next
could be
year.
Next year.
Yeah.
Which is only a couple weeks away.
Right.
So we're going to
right.
see some of that happening fairly
Right.
shortly.
And,
So that was a big thing that happened probably last
and
year.
also talking about building projects, and this October was the 5th anniversary of the fire,
Yes.
and that was the groundbreaking and building of the new Baptist church.
Yeah, I was
Coming along gangbusters.
it really is, and it was I was very honored that they asked me to say a few words at it. Was really interesting to me is that there were people that came, not only a lot of Wakefield people, but there were people there from Stoneham, Reading, Melrose, people that had a connection with the church. And so we had the ceremonial groundbreaking, and then I speak a lot with Reverend Doug Dry of the church over there, and then things really, a slab was poured and the foundation, slab was put in, and then things really stopped. And it stopped because, and I'm sick of this term, but it's a reality we live in now, supply chain issues.
Yeah.
So, the steel got delayed, but once it was delivered, it really has gone really incredibly quickly.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I would not be surprised, particularly with, we're going to get this stretch of pretty good weather coming up over the next 10 days or so, they're saying, that by the time of our next show, we might see that building pretty much enclosed with the siding on it, which would be great.
Well, and even with the supply issues, it looks like they will be able to make their April opening that
Yeah.
The Reverend
Yeah,
gave us on the show
in
earlier
the
this
studio,
year.
yes,
Yeah.
I hope they do. Their goal is to be have Easter services there. Maybe it'll be half in, half out, but
Yeah.
it will certainly be on site, I think. So that's really kind of when I thought about this year as as kind of an overlying theme. I thought about things like progress in building and things like that. So seemed to be some common words in there. So very happy for them.
Speaking about progress and building and such, annual town meeting featured a great new program, the Wakefield Affordable Housing Trust.
Yes. This is something that it's one of the best practices in how do you help create affordable housing in your community. And to me, affordable housing means housing where, our kids and, well, maybe it's our grandkids now. We got to talk about when we started the show, it would have been our kids, right?
Right,
So now
right.
it's our grandkids.
Right.
And we're talking about people that are teachers, our police officers, our firefighters, our DPW workers, people that work in town hall, work in the schools, that where they can find an affordable home in the community where they live and grew up in and want and work and want to stay in. So one of the tools of that is the Affordable Housing Trust, and Wakefield does have about $750,000. It's not tax levy dollars. It's not anything like that. It's money that is for affordable housing from different projects that have gone on that will be available to maybe help people with down payments. Maybe will help create some affordable units in a development, things like that. So I'm very proud that Wakefield has that, but there was no mechanism to utilize that and create these things.
Right.
So the Housing Trust was really talked about at the town council meeting, and from there it went to town meeting, and we had I think there was probably a 3 or 4 or 5 page document that was in the town meeting warrant, and we made our presentation, and we didn't get one question. Everybody seemed to be for it. So I thought that was great.
That one seemed to be an easy concept.
It was neat. I hope.
It doesn't often happen at town meeting, but that seemed to be something that people could really rally behind.
Sometimes the ones we think are easy aren't so easy, though.
Right. That's true.
But this time it was.
That's true.
Yeah.
Another event during the year, pop-ups along Main Street.
Yeah, kind of in the building theme.
Yeah.
Kind of in the building theme. So, we are really trying everything we can do in this economy, which is still, not humming along as for everybody. Let's put it that way. To try to help, build businesses in the community and things like that. And one of the strategies is they're called pop-ups. So we actually got a grant and worked together with the Boys and Girls Club and applied for the grant, and we'll get back to why we worked with the Boys and Girls Club in a second, to create kind of a small area where, businesses could kind of start to see pop up they almost look like sheds, big sheds for your backyard.
Right.
Where you pop up to see, hey, does the community like this business?
Right.
And maybe they would go on to become a bricks and mortar or
Right.
what have you.
With a counter front or something like
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we had a number of businesses in there. I think there was a candle company, a jewelry company.
In the space between Blanchard's and
Blanchard's and the
Santander.
Santander back, yes. Bob Santinello owns. He was very gracious to
Yep.
allow the town to use it at no cost. He did have his sign up there. He is looking for to build someone, but he did let us go in there, and it really was a nice spot that we created a kind of a little fenced-in area.
Right.
Flowers that were there.
Right.
And picnic tables, and I think one of the most moving moments I've had in 15 years we've been doing this show is the Inspire Cafe, which was in there. And that was run in conjunction with the Boys and Girls Club. And this was some of our people in our town that have some challenges, but they sold slush and things like that. And
Sure.
it was fabulous. A lot of the local Boston media covered us. And we had
Yes,
people down
Channel
there.
5 had a very
Channel
nice
5 had a
segment.
segment,
which,
as did others.
Yeah.
And it really was a great community event. So a lot of people came there to support this venture. And I think you're going to see the young men and women who manned and managed and worked at the Inspire Cafe. I think you may see them actually go to a brick and mortar space in Wakefield sometime in 25. So next year,
In 25.
Excuse me, 24.
Yeah,
So next
okay.
year in 24, that'll be one of our issues on maybe one of our issues in our show when we wrap up 24. So I think that was really a very for me personally a really great event, and I enjoyed it and got to go down and get slush at a number of times because different companies came at different times. So give me a great.
And it gave people a reason to go down to that part of Main Street, which
Exactly.
normally there isn't a draw there other than the bank.
Right, and a couple of other local businesses, but it brought
But
people
it
down
brought
there.
people by like Sweet Bay,
Exactly.
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 and I'm sure, say people went, let's try that out.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
check them
That's
out.
what that's
So,
all about. So
Yeah.
really was an excellent use of time and the little bit of grant money that we got. And we actually were able to extend it an extra month
Yep.
through the grant because these sheds they're on our sheds. You get them through the grant and they
Yeah,
put
yeah,
them up for you and
yeah.
everything. So really was a great use of time and space. Really one of the few really bright spots in what was a pretty dreary weather-wise summer.
Now, given that space hasn't been developed yet, is there a possibility that there will be pop-ups there
I
this
think
coming
there's
summer?
absolutely a possibility that you could see them there or another location. I think it was that successful in our minds. And hopefully the goal is to get somebody or some of them to move to a brick and mortar traditional space, and
Right.
hopefully that'll happen.
Well, and we've seen some retail spaces downtown change hands pretty successfully. The
Yeah.
coffee shop
Yes. Yeah.
and
Seamlessly in that one. Yep.
and formerly Zuzu's Cafe is now sushi.
Yeah, it is now sushi, and I hear that its sushi there is excellent. I have not been there, full disclosure, but I've heard it's fabulous.
Neither have I.
People-
I've been by it a couple
Yeah.
of times, but I haven't had a chance to stop in yet.
Yeah, and a new bakery downtown too,
Yep.
where the old Coffee Cakes was, and that looks really inviting. And maybe now's a good time in the holidays to
Yep.
pick up some sweets for everybody.
Now, if we can only find a way to fill those empty spaces
Yeah.
that have
We're working
been
on the
empty
other
for a
ones.
long
Stay
time.
tuned. Stay tuned. Yeah.
Another interesting one, which you were telling me a little bit about before we went on the air, international fellows, representatives from governments around the world that during their program ended up in Wakefield to talk about town government.
Yeah, it's actually a very interesting. Counselor Maureen Butt has a personal friend that kind of runs the program.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how they came to Wakefield in the first place. And at first, this is the third year, I believe, they've been here. And when I tell you they're from all over the world,
Yep.
there's people from the Middle East, from Africa, Eastern Europe, Australia this last time, New Zealand. So really encompasses the entire world. And we get them for a few hours in the morning, and then they kind of disperse and take advantage of downtown Wakefield, and hopefully get lunch, and we get a little bit of meals tax, which I like, and always on the lookout for revenue. And but they get to see what town is about. But what they come here is to learn about a couple of things. They really are learning how to administrate government services, and whether that's on a country level, a state level, a local level, or what have you, they're all they're trying to learn that system. And when they come here, I usually I say a few words, and the mayor of Melrose says a few words, and we kind of juxtapose city and versus town government,
Right.
which is somewhat different concepts for people to understand. Not everyone is parochial as New England is, what have you. But that aside, they really this year had a lot of very, very tough questions. Really interested in how education is funded in our communities. Education of our young people up through college. So it must be a very much hot button in their countries how they're doing it, the ones that had come here. So there were some really tough questions, how the budgets were handled, who decided in the classroom. And so for me, luckily I have a little bit of heritage in that area, so I know a little bit more than most. But it was really, it's so heartfelt to hear, their stories and ask our stories, and I really enjoy it so much. So it's really a fun afternoon, and I hope they come back again. They came to us to the Civic Center. We had, probably 80 people there. And so it really is a fun day, and I hope they come back again next year because it's been a great few years.
A lot of people won't remember this because it goes back a long time. But, Wakefield had something similar back in the 90s after the Soviet Union collapsed, when the late General John Galvin,
Brought the Russian generals.
brought Russian generals and admirals, I think 4 times, to Wakefield to tour through the downtown and to kind of learn a little bit about American democracy. To try and help them transition.
It is very much similar to that, to introducing different cultures to different ways of doing things. It's really a very enjoyable day, and to talk to someone from one of the smaller African countries, and then ask a question, and then someone from New Zealand, and then someone from Eastern Europe. It really is. It really is to see all the different perspectives.
Sure.
Yet they were all there trying to learn or trying to figure out what is the best way for them within their system to deliver good government to their people. So I really enjoyed that.
But there's also no telling that in talking with them, something might come up, an aha moment of, hey,
Exactly.
let's see how
Let's
that would
try
work
that.
here. Yeah.
Let's try that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Another important milestone this past year, police accreditation, our
Yeah.
police department. Let's talk a little bit about that, because that's not something that's come up on the show.
No, it hasn't. And as I say at town meeting, Wakefield is one of the few police departments that is accredited or certified, by the by the State Association of Police, individual police, town police forces. And they have been, our force has been probably for the last 10 years, and you got to re-up every 3 years. So I think this is the third or fourth time I've been there. And really what it says is that our police department follows standard operating procedures that are best practices. And we do. They do, we do. And when I think about really how our police department, as our other departments are too, but they have an accreditation area to go to. It's come such a long way in the area of community policing and how we work with, mental health services. And, knock on wood, you don't see things happening in Wakefield that happen elsewhere that are because of things handled poorly. Because they're so well trained, because they're so well led, because they're accredited. And it really is, moving to go and hear them describe the Wakefield Police Department. I'm honored that, the chiefs that I've been involved with have always taken me there, invited me to the ceremony. So it really is a great day for Wakefield Police. You know what? It also helps us, I think, if we were, God forbid, to have a lawsuit against the town, that happens, that we do follow, the best practices of standing operating procedures. So there is that practical matter too. But I just think it is a recognition of the great service that the men and women of Wakefield Police provide the people of Wakefield and those that visit us.
And the leadership in the department.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. In fact, I was saying the other day to one of the town councilors, we really have the whole entire leadership team of Wakefield Police could be a chief probably anywhere. And there's even some sergeants coming up that could be too. So it really is, that they talk about succession planning. That department's fine.
And we saw that when Chief Smith retired.
Yeah, exactly. It was great to be able to promote from within, and had a great crew to promote from. And, that doesn't happen everywhere.
No, it doesn't. It didn't used to happen here.
It didn't used to happen here either.
So that's a huge step forward.
Absolutely.
This one's going to seem kind of silly, but walkers and runners and a few others will appreciate it, and that's the lake bathroom.
The lake bathroom, it does seem silly, I guess, but I will tell you that we over the years, have gotten many requests from people, why isn't there a bathroom along the lake? Because people like to walk and run and stroll and, push baby carriages and things like that. So we heard you, and one of the uses of some of the federal ARPA funds is to put a bathroom facility at Hall Park. And for those of you that don't know what Hall Park is the area next to Veterans Field where the softball games are played, right at the corner of Church and North Ave.
Right.
And so we had a number of public forums in this regard, and it was the public sentiment kind of moved from where the original location was going to be closer to Vets Field to across the parking lot, kind of where the shed is now that the farmers market uses.
Yes.
And this facility will be big enough to have 2 unisex stalls and have 2 unisex bathrooms, I should say, separated bathrooms, single stall each, and a storage area for the farmers market, and for maybe some DPW equipment or supplies as well. So,
sure.
You know what? It was a long time coming. Wrapped into that project is going to be a repair of the drainage in that Vets Field parking lot. You're going to see more greenery in the middle there. It's going to look much nicer. and people will look forward, I think, to using it. DPW will clean it every day. It will definitely be, locked at night and reopened in the morning. But it is, I think a lot of people will be very, very happy, so they didn't have to hold it all the way home.
Especially the people in the stalls at the farmers market all summer long.
Exactly,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
Get away from those porta potties that are horrible, even on a good
Oh,
day.
those are horrible no matter what. Regular town meeting in November, the big thing there was the energy policy.
Yes, it was. We call it affectionately the stretch year code. So Wakefield had already adopted the stretch code.
Yeah.
And the new energy policy really is a nod to making sure that Wakefield is doing its job to be carbon neutral. Is it 2030, 2050? 2050, I guess it is. And it does create it adds a little bit more requirements in the building of properties. So you know what? It's a good step it's another good step in the right direction. Wakefield had adopted the stretch code a while ago. This is the next level of that.
Right.
It does open us up for grants as well, and we've used a lot of those grants through the Green Communities Act to put solar panels on buildings to handle that. So this is a move to more to lessen fossil fuels and move more to electric, away from gas and oil, and but not only that, but making sure that homes are more efficient, they're insulated better, things like that. So I think in the long run, it's going to pay dividends for the homeowners,
Right.
when they change things. But like anything else, it's a change, and it got some, it got some pretty good debate at town meeting, and at the end of the day, I think it passed, not that close, as I recall.
It passed.
Yeah, it passed.
And where Wakefield is fortunate to have our own electric and gas company, this just adds to what some of the initiatives that they've been trying to put forth in the last decade or so, that you won't see in communities that are fed by some of the big power companies.
I know. And actually, I think we should really, here we are on December 20th when we're doing the show. December 17th and 18th was some of the worst rain and wind we've seen in a long time. And
Snap the town Christmas tree.
Snap down Christmas tree. That is back up, by the way. And will be lit tonight, I'm told, but it is back up. Great job. But what a great job, and how lucky we are to live in our community where, we have a fabulous DPW and a fabulous locally owned gas and light department.
Right.
You don't hear about Wakefieldians being out for days.
No, and that's really the advantage that we see. If you remember that strange windstorm we had a couple of years ago that took out the north end of town.
Exactly, yeah.
Spared downtown.
Yeah.
And then took out Greenwood.
Yeah.
And literally, they start at the north end of town to restore things and work their way south. My neighborhood in Greenwood was out of power for 9 hours, and that's it.
That's it.
If that
Instead
had
of 9
been,
days.
Yeah, or 9 weeks.
Or 9 weeks,
Yeah.
There are still people, as of today, and luckily the number's down and it's dwindling. That in Situate and Norwell who are still without power.
There are people in Maine that are looking at a month or more before they see power again.
So really kudos to our town departments and the Wakefield Gas and Light Department. And I think what a lot of people don't know is that for years, we've had a kind of a tree trimming and pruning program where every year a third of the town gets done, and then they move to the next third.
Right.
And they kind of clear what's dead. They clear things off of that's hanging over electrical wires and things like that. Makes a big difference. And I think the proof is in the pudding here.
And just because we are going to run over time a little bit, one of the things that you and I were talking about before we started taping the show, and this is something that started when I was on the Human Rights Commission some years ago, and that's the menorah lighting on the common. But this year it has a greater meaning than it's had in
Yeah.
past years.
Yeah, it really does, and it was very well attended.
Mm-hmm.
The most that I've seen in a long time, and it really, when you had I think we had three or four rabbis there
Mm-hmm.
this year,
Mm-hmm.
and they really talked about the safety for people of their faith in this climate and what's going on. And I think that here in Wakefield, the type of community we are, everybody felt very safe there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we did
Mm-hmm.
have extra police presence just to
Mm-hmm.
make sure.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Yep.
But I think it was a very moving ceremony and moving words and a lot of friendship and song
Mm-hmm.
and really bringing light to an
Mm-hmm.
otherwise a dark time. And you'll get a kick out of that when I did not know this going in there, but when they asked me, Rabbi Brooks asked me to light the shamash, which
Mm-hmm.
I guess is the candle in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to go on a ladder. Well, I hadn't been on a ladder since I fell off one 2 years ago and broke my knee. So that was like, I'm looking at that ladder, but we survived. I was very honored to be asked to participate in that, and that really, the menorah lighting has become part of the fabric of our community at this point. I think
Right.
that was the 10th year.
Right.
10 years we've been doing this.
Right.
And growing and growing every year. And I was able to get a latke this year. A little cold by the time I got to it, but that was a step in the right direction. So next year I'm going to get one in the beginning.
That's the secret. And finally, we have emergency shelters. Now, there was a time when we were younger when, we had familiar emergency shelter areas
Right.
around town during the Cold War. Yeah. And you can still see, like, on the outside of the library facade facing the post office, one of the fallout shelter signs.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a little weathered now, but it's still there. So let's talk about these emergency shelters.
Okay, so these emergency shelters are, as everyone knows by now, Massachusetts is a right to shelter state, and there is a kind of a migrant housing crisis right now in the state where there are, room for, according to the governor, for 7,500 families. Mm-hmm. We are over 7,500 families as a state at this point. So trying to, as some migrants come in, trying to give them some temporary shelter so they're not, sleeping under the escalator at the airport is challenging for the state.
Right.
So we have had a couple of instances where for a very short term, we've taken a number of families in at one or both of our local hotels, where our health department is really fabulous, our emergency management director, and it really is just a kind of a stepping stone where these families are here for, I think there were maybe a week, 3 days to a week, while some more permanent,
right.
things, areas
could be found. Yeah.
Could be found. I'm very proud of the work that we've done here to help out with this, and really the care and generosity that our health department, what has taken this on, has done. And we reach out to the community, to the food pantry, to churches that have maybe extra clothing. We do a very brief and quick medical check with our nurses, and in some cases give some vaccinations and help with some transportation to maybe their doctor's appointments or what have you.
Sure.
But it's very short lived. We don't have any children that have gone to our school system out of this. But it is, again, we are all, we're all part of this, human race, and helping these people that are less fortunate than we are. And you got to think, where did they flee from, and what it was to come here. So it gets a lot of people involved, and it does make a difference in some people's lives.
And it's going to be a subject that we're going to be probably looking at more in the coming year.
Oh, yeah. Nationwide and statewide.
because of all that is going on with regard to migrants coming to America and other issues that we're dealing with around the world. So this is an important step that we
It
can do,
is,
at least locally.
Yeah, and it's it is it's doing the right thing.
Yep.
The bottom line is.
Yep. No, absolutely. Absolutely. No question. It's been a busy year.
It's been a great year, and thank you for another year. Would you say it was our 15th year?
This is the end of season 15.
Season 15.
Next month we'll be starting season 16. Hard to believe.
It's more than Blue Bloods, right? Blue Bloods only has 14, so we've been doing it longer than
But
them.
not as much as SVU, which is at 25. Yeah. Yeah. So
I don't think we'll make it to 25.
depends how long you stick around.
We're not going to make it to
But
25.
at any rate, I would like to thank everyone who has watched the series this year. Hopefully you'll stay with us next season, which will start in January. In the meantime, on behalf of both Steve and myself and everyone here at WCAT, thank you for joining us. I wish you happy holidays, very best of New Year's. We'll see you next year.
Safe time and fun time with your family and friends.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Weather's going to be nice, so take advantage.
Bye-bye.
Bye.